I'm back. So I touched base with my guest and just waiting for some of you to come back on. Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. So I touched base with Mr. Thomas, and he's running just a little bit late, but he'll be on. So we will continue until he gets here, and then we'll start my soul chat with Ray. So as I was saying, there's a lot of things going on this week. Who of y'all are upgrading to the iPhone 11? Has anybody decided to upgrade? Hey, he's here. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. This is my special guest. I'm so grateful to have you on here. So go ahead
Thank
and tell
you.
them a little bit about yourself, your name, and I'm trying to pronounce your name, but I don't want to butcher it because I'm so bad with names. Like, I cannot say names correctly, and I know yours, it has to be correct. So
Yes. My name is Tertulien Thomas.
and that's why I thought you would pronounce it.
Yes, just as it's spelled.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
where are you from, Tertulien? And tell them a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm originally from Stamford, Connecticut, but I've been in Los Angeles now for about 8 years. I moved out here. I'm an actor, singer, model, spiritualist by night. I grew up in church my entire life, but I've always been like very spiritual.
Yes.
So yes.
I love it. I honor that about you. That's what I love about you, Tertulien, is that you're just so, you got the whole package. You're a triple threat. You got the
Oh my
brains,
goodness.
the beauty, and also you're just so talented, so freaking talented.
Thank you
And
so
today,
much.
this platform is like, that's why I love doing these soul chat with Ray sessions, because I get to bring on, different guests from different walks of life, different types of careers, and gives people a platform to kind of, showcase who they are and, what they do. Whereas, some people, you have to pay sometimes to get onto a show, or you have to have connections to get on a show. So I'm so glad that I have this platform. I feel blessed, and I thank God every single day that I wake up. Let me see here. And that what you're talking to is actually a demon. Somebody's asking a question. We'll get to questions in a minute. Hold on to that thought. So,
They're eager. The fans are eager.
Yes. I'm so excited to have them here. I'm so grateful.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your music, because you are a singer, you are a performer. I think a lot of people don't know that about you.
Yes, I'm a singer first and foremost. I pretty much have been singing in church most of my life. I was in praise and worship team at church. And then kind of when I left the church, I kind of ventured off into musical theater, which was always my passion and desire. And of course, that opened up more musical opportunities for me to explore myself creatively. So gospel music, pop, R&B. Right now, I'm working on a solo project and currently recording at the moment with 2 different producers. I have a band that I'm working on right now and getting that organized. I got a lot on my plate. I also sing at the Agape Spiritual Center. For those of you who are familiar with The Secret and Reverend Michael Beckwith, that's my church home. So the Agape Spiritual Center in Beverly Hills, California. And it's such a beautiful community, and it's a space where you can go and not be judged, and you can be yourself. And they encourage you to be what Spirit calls you to be in this life, like what you were born to be in this life. And the space resonates with me so much. So I'm part of the music ministry there, and it's just been an enlightening and growing experience for me.
I
being
love
there.
that. that you mentioned that, because I grew up in a time frame where I grew up from a Catholicism or Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
Catholic background, and
Right.
so many years I was Catholic, which is nothing wrong with that. I don't judge any
Right.
religion, but I left
Same.
that after a long while because
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't feel connected. And I think the more older I got, the more I became more aware of spirit and
Right.
spirituality, and something just didn't click. The dynamics of religion didn't click for me in Catholic world. So then I
Right.
migrated into Baptist, and I actually attended
Mm.
an all black people's church. It was
Mm-hmm.
a Baptist church, and I was there, part of the choir too. I can sing a little bit. I don't sing that well. If you want to hear me, I'll keep my day job. But yeah, I love that church, and but I still felt kind of like judged or disconnected,
Yeah.
just because I feel like the teachings are so cut and dry in who I am. The Bible doesn't accept that. It doesn't accept who I am, and
Right.
as a person, as a
Right.
unicorn.
Right.
So I
Right.
finally gravitated towards spirituality, and that's where I feel the most at home, with myself. And I still
Likewise.
have that faith in God. Going to this work, I think a lot of people think that, because you're a spiritualist, you can't believe in God or source. And I
Right.
do. I think a lot of people do that do this work. Obviously you do, and a lot of my
Right.
peers and colleagues. So I feel like, there is a God, there is, a higher power that is love, and it's
Right.
not judgmental. And
Right.
if I ever get back into the church, I definitely would go to a spiritualist church, because I
Oh
feel like
yeah.
that's the best place
Y-
for me to be in and be accepted.
a-
So I'm so glad that
Absolutely.
you're in that. And I've seen some of your music that you post on your Instagram, with them performing, and it's just like
Yes.
your voice is so angelic. Like, we'll get into where they can find your music, but your
Okay.
voice is like from God. It's anointed, and it's so
Thank
beautiful.
you.
And the
Thank
things
you
that
so
you can
much.
do with your voice, it's astounding. So
Thank you so much
um,
for that.
you're
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
welcome. And I'm sorry if I ever blab a lot, because I tend to go on in a rampage.
No, no, it's quite all right. You're in the flow. That's awesome. You're a Gemini. That's your
Yeah, I
Gemini
am.
rules communication, right? So very fitting.
Thank you. And I wanted to ask you, like, since
Yeah.
you've been in this music industry, how many years would you say that you've been doing this on the music? Maybe you covered it, I just didn't hear it. And also, would you say that music has provided you some kind of healing in your life, or healing to other people?
Yes. So I've been, to be honest with you, with the music industry, when I was singing in the church, I did not have an interest in partaking in the music industry at all at that time. I was turned off by what was going on in the business and the kind of formula that at that time they were wanting you to follow. And I always wanted to be true to myself. Even when I was growing up in the church,
Mm-hmm.
like I always fought to be myself and to do what I wanted to do. So I
Yes.
didn't really get involved in the music industry until about, I'd say about 7 or 8 years ago,
Okay.
when I moved out here to LA. I moved out for acting.
Okay.
I was attending Juilliard in New York City before I
Wow.
moved here, and life in New York was getting
Isn't
hard.
that where
And
Lady Gaga went to Juilliard? I think she studied at
I
Juilliard.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. I
Wow.
went there. It's funny with Juilliard. Sorry, I'm kind of on a tangent, but
That's okay.
Juilliard. I was there 2008. I wanted to get into acting and music again. I was tired of doing these survival jobs, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back to school. Let's see if we can get into Juilliard, and maybe that'll look good on the resume. And Juilliard had a night program at the time. However,
Wow.
the night program was still following the same audition, like grueling audition standards that they had for the daytime
It
program.
requires work. It's
Oh
not like a
yeah,
piece of cake. I think a
no, no,
lot of
no,
people think, well, because it's music and I love music, it's going to be a piece of cake. No, you have to study notes and study,
right,
history and all kinds
right,
of stuff.
and all of that stuff. Yeah, so I auditioned, and I, to my surprise, at the time I got in, And yeah, I started to take classes there. And then life in New York got hard. I was also feeling like my spirit was pulling me to LA. So I decided like a year and a half to just quit everything and move here. But yeah, music industry been about 7 years. I recently just kind of started like putting myself full force into it. Like when I moved here, I'm like, I didn't want to sing. I was like focusing on acting. But then I'd like run into people and I'd run into friends that were clairvoyant. They're like, Spirit is telling you to sing. You need to sing. You need to sing. You need to sing. I'm like, okay, God, I hear you. And the minute I started to really honor that and honor
Yes.
what my true gift is, that's when things started to shift for me.
I love that. I
And
love that you said that, because I think, it's so important. People like people ask me like, how do I know what my calling is? You will know, because like you will be pushed by spirit, by God, to get into the career, like you said, and it
right,
will feel like, it won't feel like a job to you. It feels like a
right,
passion,
like a
something that you
passion.
enjoy doing. Yeah,
Right.
and
And
that's
and
what
you
like
know, and we know, like we come here as beings
yes,
having what's that saying? We are divine beings having a human experience here. And when we're born here, we're born with that knowing. We're born with everything that we need
yes,
to really thrive here. But you know that there's conditioning, there's the veil of forgetfulness, there's things put on us that
yes.
make us forget who we are. So
So many
we,
people forget, because like you said, it's daily, your family condition, sometimes they condition us,
right,
sometimes because they didn't have their dream and they couldn't realize it. Sometimes parents don't want, or they don't want you to see be as successful, and sometimes they want you to do better than them, or
right,
sometimes they want you to go and follow a career that they were in, like if they were a nurse or a
right.
doctor, and
Yeah, and
that
it's a
kind of
lot
like,
of pressure.
it is, it's
Yeah, it's a
pressure.
lot of pressure. Yeah, and that's why it's
So
important to like when spirit is talking to you,
mhm,
there is no
yeah,
question because it almost becomes like a nagging voice. Not nagging in like a negative sense, but
yeah,
there's like a sense of urgency, you know? And so
totally,
yeah,
totally
and
agree.
once you fall in alignment with that and you listen, everything else is like a piece of cake, you know?
Absolutely. And
So
that's when blessings start manifesting and doors start opening, when you start following your life path, like what your destiny
right.
is, what you came to earth to do. Because I think you covered so many good things that I just want to go backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
One thing that you said is that people, and this is how I know that I'm having a conversation with someone that is, well, all of my guests are a very enlightened, very on a fifth dimensional plane. And I feel
Hmm.
like our energy right now, that's where we're at. Like you're very fourth and fifth, but you're mainly in the fifth dimension right now. Like I
Hmm.
feel you're so open. And the one thing that you said was about when we come to Earth, we all come with a specific mission or life purpose. And some of us
Hmm.
will not necessarily have to be in the spotlight to accomplish that. Sometimes
Hmm.
you may just be, you came to give birth to kids, to have a family, to because you were lacking loneliness in a past life, or you were
Hmm.
lacking a family in a past life. So no matter where you're at right now in the physical world, no matter what life path you're in or what you're doing,
Hmm.
none of it is incorrect. None of it is wrong. All of the things that comprise our soul and who we are today is made of all of our mistakes, all of the things that we think are mistakes, which really are just lessons. There's really no such thing as mistakes. That's how I
Hmm.
see it. It's like, even though some of us think that, well, we should have made better decisions, etc., all of that comprises our life path and who we are today. Without those struggles, we wouldn't know how to
Right.
be thankful and grateful for what we
Right.
have.
Right.
So
And
you
those,
definitely covered
those,
it.
yeah, those struggles show up. Like I learned coming up, like when you get faced with situations and problems and you're like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? God, like I've had enough. God, like, why are you doing this to me? And it's nothing happening to you or against you because at Agape, we're taught that we live in a friendly universe
Hmm.
and a universe that's always providing. So I feel like the situations and trials and tribulations that we go to, they're not meant to destroy us, but they're meant to make us stronger. They're
Absolutely.
meant to help us to evolve and to move forward in our lives. And like I started to learn that, you know, you're not, the problem is not bigger than you. You're bigger than the problem. Again,
Yeah.
because we have, you know,
Amen.
if we're yeah, right? Because if we're created, if the Bible says that we are created in the likeness and image of God, it means that we have the capabilities to have dominion in this
Oh
earth
my God.
realm.
It's like I'm speaking to myself. Like you're just like my mirror image. Like you're mirroring me right now. Like that is what I posted. Like I said, I have posted a meme.
Uh-huh.
I'm the meme queen. The other day I posted a meme about we are gods. Okay, but people took it out of context, and I get so much hate mail and stuff like that, comments
Right.
about what I post. But I really don't give it. You know, I'm not gonna cuss on
You
here
you don't give a
because
hoot.
yeah, I don't give a cahoot on that because, you know, I am me ultimately at the end of the day, and I'm going to
Right.
express myself the way that I want and give those messages unapologetically to
Right.
all of my rays of light, all of the people that follow me, etc. And I think they took it out of context. I'm not saying that we're not, you know, that there isn't God and that we shouldn't respect a God.
Of
But like
course.
you just said, you covered it, you hit the nail on it. It's like, we are made, like you said, we're made in his image or in that image of God. And so
Right.
like that means that we are a part of God. Like we are part God. I mean,
We
in
are
some
part, yeah,
ways we
we are
can
part
create.
source. Right.
Yeah, we're
Right.
connected. We're all one power, oneness. It's all about being oneness, you know?
Right.
And I think so many people, we try to separate ourselves that, you know, that there is this higher being and supreme being. Yes, that is true. But while it's true, we're all part of that being. You know, there's some
Mm-hmm.
different levels of that being, you know, whether it's a good level or maybe it's, you know, someone falls off of the beaten path, you know, and is disconnected from source, then they're on
Mm-hmm.
a lower level.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, we're all, as brothers and sisters, connected as oneness. And we're not
Right.
defined by our skin color, by our
Not at all.
sexuality, our
Nope.
sexual orientation, you know,
We're,
our disabilities. People
no.
try to treat other people differently because they're disabled, you know,
Right.
instead of seeing them as, you know, yes, they have a disability. Yes, they may be a double amputee, but they're still the same person.
There's still energy.
Yeah, they're still
That's what
energy.
it boils down to at the end of the day. It's still energy, you know?
Yeah,
It's still
absolutely.
energy.
Would you mind? I hate to put you on the spot here
It's
because I
okay.
saw it. Someone wants to hear you sing a little bit for us. Would you mind doing that, or?
Oh, I don't mind at all.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, now I have to figure out what I'm gonna sing.
If you need some time, we can
Uh,
come back to it and I can keep asking questions.
okay, yeah. Give me a
Okay.
moment to think about that.
So,
Yeah.
like at the end of the show, we'll have a few minutes still. We can still have some time, and
Sure.
we'll have Tertulien sing for us because let me tell you, his voice is anointed, and I'm not even joking. So I guess the next question is, since you have years already in the industry in music, you know, and doing all of this, and a lot of it is done solo. Is that right? Like you do a lot of the solo projects and stuff.
Yeah, I've been working on solo projects. Yes, that's
Okay.
what I've been like my own personal solo projects. But through Agape, I've been able to sing backup for Nikki Harris, who's one of Madonna's former backup singer from back in the day. She's an Agape member. Gosh, we sang backup with like Patti LaBelle and Stevie Wonder and all these incredible people.
I love it.
So I had the experience to be support, but now, like, I want to step in what my calling is and doing these solo projects as me as the front man. But of course, in anything that you're doing, it takes a village. You know,
Yeah.
producers
Yeah,
and
you have to work with a team of people.
yeah,
Uh,
collaborations and that
that's
sort
why
of
I wanted
thing.
to ask you, like, my next
Yeah,
question to you, like, for what advice could you give to someone that is like, I know there are some people that would be tuning into this maybe later when I put it on YouTube or on this Instagram channel, but like, what advice could you give to someone that's maybe starting up or is spiritually led to go into music, but they don't like know where to begin, where to start? What would
right.
you give them? What kind of advice?
I would say, first and foremost, use social media to your advantage right now,
Right.
because that has created such a huge shift in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're just starting out right now, first of all, love what you're doing. Don't make it about the fame. Don't make it about the money. That will come. The Bible says, honor ye first the kingdom of God, and everything else shall follow. the honoring the kingdom of God is honoring your gifts within, honoring the divine gifts within you. So whenever you
Amen.
honor that,
Yes.
everything else will come into play. So I share that to say, get your videos out there, post videos on YouTube, post videos on your Instagram and your Facebook, and go out and do gigs. That's the best thing to do, is go out and gig and be
Get
seen,
exposure.
get
Get out of your
exposure.
comfort zone.
Yeah. Sing with other people. That's always the best part. Like, let's say you're a singer and you're shy and you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I could sing by myself in front of a crowd of people. That's fine. Join a choir. That's the easiest way that you can break your shell.
Because you're like no longer just your voice, it's a group of voices together. And
Right.
that kind of sometimes amplifies and lifts your spirit, and kind of it's like an energetic thread, or like
Threat.
an
Right.
energetic grid of energies, exchanging that vocalness.
Right. Right.
I'm so inspired. Like, I love music. Like, that's the one thing that a lot of people may notice. Like, even though I'm a psychic medium and I'm into spirituality, the
Mhm.
one thing that gets me motivated, that lifts my vibrations, is music. Like, I listened to, growing up, to Patti LaBelle, to Stevie Wonder,
Yes.
to Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston,
Mm.
all these great vocalists, that just move you. Like, there'll never be another one of those. Like, and I feel like we as humans, like, we are so bad to judge celebrities sometimes,
Mhm.
because they dress imperfect or they do this, but we don't acknowledge that, they will not be around forever, but it's
That's
a
true.
treasure to have them while we have them here. And we don't appreciate sometimes these celebrities. We tear them down and we try to, judge them based on one bad performance or one thing, but they're human beings,
Right, right. That's
they're
what
human
people
beings.
forget. They're human beings at the end of the day,
Yeah, and it's like,
and
go
and
ahead, I'm sorry.
oh, it's okay. And everyone struggles with confidence, with self-esteem when we put so much pressure on ourselves. I was watching, there was a video, I think that either J-Lo or, A-Rod had posted, and Jennifer Lopez was crying that she didn't do something well enough.
Hmm.
And I'm like, wow, like, God, like, even J-Lo puts pressure on herself to be the best,
Yeah, I love
and
her, and I feel like, like you said, in the things that we don't see in the industry, like, there is a darker level in the industry, and
mhm,
sometimes, you have producers coming to you and telling you, you need to lose weight, you need to look a certain way, you need to
right,
do this over, you're not perfect enough, and they kind of like make people insecure, and that's the
right,
darker aspect and quality. And I
right.
love that you're not in that right now. I feel like you will never allow yourself to be in that, where
Nope,
people will change you, who you are. Like,
no,
you are so solid. Because a lot of people that are in the industry, I see it. I see how they, they get very innocent when they begin, and then they
hmm,
kind of, they circumstance. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to
yeah,
explain, but the industry and the people that surround them, and they have people whispering in their ear, they change over time. And
over
so,
time, right,
yeah, it's like a gradual transformation, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm not judging them, but I feel like it's not being like their authentic self. But like,
right,
you're very grounded, and I feel like you would never, like, there's a couple people, that artists out there that I've listened to, and I see them and they don't change. I feel like
right,
they're still the same. Yes, they change physically, or they evolve, in their music style, but
right,
their core principles and their connection to spirit. Like, I hear a lot of people now, magazines I'm turning, they're talking about crystals and magic and things like that. It's just,
hmm,
it's fresh to it's so refreshing to see that, in the
yeah,
industry, that
yeah.
still exists.
Well, I think that that showing up in the industry and throughout our world right now is that a lot of what has been kept in the dark, or a lot of things that were, frowned upon,
Hmm.
we are in a season of liberation, and
Yes,
we're liberating ourselves from what was keeping us captive,
I agree.
and freeing ourselves to what we're meant to be.
Yeah,
So, it's an interesting time,
it is.
very
It is.
an auspicious time.
Yeah, and I'm seeing, like, the younger generations, and they're, like, the kids that are like in 15 all the way up. You see them on TV as if they're artists. Like, that one girl, what is her name? Billie Eilish. I don't know, Eilish.
Billy, I'm not familiar.
She sings, but she's so young. I think she's like 17 years old right now. I see
Wow.
her doing great in the industry and continuing to like produce a lot of good music. And Billie Eilish, or I think it's Eilish, she is just amazing and so open, so spiritual in
Mm.
nature. And it's refreshing because we don't see that, you know, with the youth a lot,
Mm-hmm.
how enlightened they're becoming. Um, I wanted to ask you, like, you've spoken about this just maybe a few minutes ago in our
Mm-hmm.
conversation. You've talked about your faith in God and spirituality, but like, where did it all start? Like, I know that your mom is with you still, and
Mm-hmm.
did you learn that like from your mom? I know that she's a very strong spiritual woman.
Yes.
Does she have like a strong connection to God and that kind of like?
Yes, both mom and dad were very rooted in God and rooted in church. My mother like made it a point to show me the light,
Yes,
and so she's always been like a force in my life regarding that.
I
And
love that.
so and I think it's because she a quick segue story. But I was kind of unexpected. When I was born, my mother had two children before me, and one passed. So she had a
Sorry.
son. She had a son and a daughter, and the daughter had passed. And you know, family was saying that voodoo killed her and the whole thing. And my mom was like, "Well, I don't do voodoo. I don't partake in that. All I know is God." So she's like, "God, if you were the one that took my child, give me my child back."
Hmm.
And so, sure enough, like a year or two later, I was born. And when I was born, she said, God, thank you for giving my child back to me. So now I'm giving this child back to you in service of you. So she kind of felt like she made a vow with God. And so she kept her end of the bargain
I love it.
in showing me the way. And
Right.
so, you
So
know,
you were like her miracle baby, kind of like that. That's like, you know, her. It was God's way of showing her that, you know, she was destined to have more children.
right. Right. And so yeah, so that's my foundation. And of course, being like, I also grew up in the Catholic school system.
Hmm.
So get this, like, I'm born Baptist, born and raised Baptist, but went to Catholic school my entire life.
Wow.
So mass every day, and then church Tuesday night, church Friday night,
Yep.
fasting prayer service Saturday morning, 7 a.m., and then church on Sunday. It was ridiculous.
Yes.
But
That's what I noticed. Like, you're so well versed, like, in scripture and, you know, in the Bible, etc., and the teachings.
yes,
Like, you were in that world. Can you tell me a
it's
little bit about like being in Catholic school, like, and growing up in that system? Like, what was? Sometimes I hear this, and I don't know if it's true, but
mhm.
there's a lot of children that are in that. You know, they are in the Catholic schools. Not like, were you in a private like Catholic school, or was it
Mhm.
public?
No, it was private.
Okay, so
Yeah, it
like
was,
that's what I'm wanting to ask you. Did you
yeah.
find that there was other people like yourself that wanted to break out of the constraints, or kind of like they felt like they were not really
Oh,
meshing well with that, you know,
oh
teaching?
yeah. Oh yeah. I would have to say most of the kids I went to school with,
Mm-hmm.
Catholic school with, and also most of the kids I went to church with,
Mm-hmm.
all were like, okay, what is this confinement that we're in and how do we break out of it?
Yes, because the reason I'm asking, because when I was a senior in high school, I was in my
Hmm.
Spanish class taking that. There was a girl who, this was her first year as a senior in public school. Her
Uh-huh.
father was a doctor, and he had her put in Catholic school, in a private school setting environment all the time. She spoke so many things that were bad about it, horrors of, you know, how she was treated, how she wanted to break out of it. And that's why I wanted to ask you if that was true, because I've heard it from other people as well, my
Hmm.
age, you know, when I was young, and I was like 17 in high school as a senior, and
Hmm.
I heard her say that. I was like, why did she feel that? Like, I would have thought, you know, it would have been different, but I understand, like, it's like when you get to a certain age, I think we break out of that conditioning, you know,
Right.
start making our own decisions and opinions about things
Right.
that are
Because
separate maybe from the, you know, what we learned.
right, because we ultimately we have to find our own way,
Yeah.
right? We all come here with a journey to walk, and so we are kind of given tools and given a map to go, but at the end of the day, we still have to find our own way. So I think in growing up in that environment, it pushes you to think outside the box, especially when I'm naturally inquisitive. So I always, like, if you're telling me something, like, I always want to know what the source is and where it's coming from. And my thing growing up was like, okay, we have Catholics, we have Baptists, we have Pentecostals, we have this and we have that. We're all worshiping the same God. I recognized that at a very early age. And I'm like, okay, what is this about? You know, so now that I'm older, I've kind of released all religion, all forms of religion or anything that's confining, and just being open to what, you know, what God is and the God in me and the love, you know.
Yes.
It's
You're
kind of
definitely
like
one of God's angels here on earth doing his work, because or his or her work. I don't want to put like a gender on God, because I
right,
feel
neither
like
do
God
I.
is genderless, you know.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I found myself going back to, like being that I grew up, and I know all the prayers of the Catholics use, like the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
Even Baptists use the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, when I was in that paranormal investigation that I did about 2 weeks ago in Yorktown, Texas, you know,
right.
I found myself in that situation where I reverted to that prayer. Like, it wasn't premeditated. It came out from my spirit, you know. I felt guided to say it.
To
The
say
Lord's
it, right.
Prayer. And that's like my core. I think like there's parts of us that still, no matter how much we've changed or we evolve spiritually, we always carry that in our soul as a protection for ourselves, because prayer, there's nothing wrong with prayer.
There's nothing wrong with prayer.
You know, you can use different prayers. It doesn't have to be a Catholic or of the Lord's Prayer. It can be any kind of form of, you know, an affirmation or something that just protects us. But it's such a beautiful thing to see, you know, that how we never forget our roots and how we're always connected to that, you know. One of the things also I wanted to talk about was I saw this, and it was recently posted on Facebook by one of my friends, about how a lot of times there was this situation, I'm not going to give all of it, but how it was positioned was that there was this lady, and she was going blind in her eyes, but she was an empath, and my friend her name is Megan Michaela, and I may not be saying this correctly, like the whole story. I'm just going to give you a little gist in for the viewers today.
Sure.
But she was her client was an empath, and Megan was able to identify like what were the issues that this person was having. It turns out her family was so toxic for her to be around. And at the time that she was diagnosed, she came to Megan for a reading, and Megan told her, you know, you have a certain aura, and this is, you know, the reason that you're having some health issues. It's the negativity that's around you. Mind you, shortly thereafter, she heeded Megan's advice, kind of separated herself completely. And what happened was that she, you know, the doctor had told her that she was possibly going to go blind completely.
Oh, wow.
She separated herself from that negativity that she was around from her own family. She no longer was blind. Like, she still has some little minor eye issues, but everything corrected. It was like a miracle in itself. And that's why I feel like a lot of people, if you allow or you harbor onto negative thoughts or negative energy, and you're surrounded by that every day, sometimes that's going to cause like health issues.
Yeah, it will have an effect on your psyche. I believe it from 100%.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
I can 100%. Just see your face. I can't see your eyes. Okay,
oh,
there you go.
Okay, there. Sorry.
You're so tall. How tall are you?
I'm 6'3".
Oh my God, I'm 5'10". I'm a little short thing.
No, you're not short at all.
I wanted to ask you, like, who is your biggest influence in your life? Like, if you could name, and it's hard to name one person, but like, well, let me ask you, who are the 2 top influencers in your life, like that you feel very influenced by?
I would have to say mom, number one. Yeah, strong influence.
She sure is.
Yeah, it's very strong influence. And 2, oh my goodness. You know, I I have been going to Agape for some time now, and I
Mhm.
feel like Michael Beckwith has been
Uh-huh.
having an influence in me as far as like teaching me how to just be, teaching me how to be what God called me to be.
Yes.
You know, like honoring what God has already created, you know, and just all of the good things, you know. So it's good to be able to go to a community
Yes.
where you're being encouraged and uplifted and being taught like the tools to
Hmm.
live a better life and to live in authenticity
Yes.
and that type of thing. So those
Are
are the
people are people able, like, if people that are listening today go and visit California, Los Angeles, and they want to go to the Agape Center, do they welcome anyone from any background in there? It's like,
everybody.
that's awesome.
Everybody is accepted, gay, straight, bi, trans. They honor everyone.
I love that
Um,
because it's like a universal acceptance, because not many churches, not many
hmm
churches accept people that
hmm
are
hmm
different than, that don't fit the mold. Like,
hmm
when they go to Agape, is it about, like, do you have a certain dress code, or you can come as you are?
Come as you are.
That's so
Just
beautiful.
come as you are. It's really beautiful. I remember one of the first times I got there, and there was a gay couple that had gotten married,
Hmm.
and they honored them and had the couple like come to the front and like just had everyone point their hands toward them like that to send them loving energy,
I
and
love
just
it.
the community uplifted them, and I felt so touched by that, you know.
Yes.
So it's, yeah, you guys are all welcome.
Y'all
It's
heard
Agape.
that, guys. And those
Yeah.
that are listening, if you're out there, Tertulien said it, go to the Agape Center. Where's the address, or, like, where is it located in
It's
Los Angeles?
so it's called the Agape Spiritual Center.
Okay.
It's located at the Saban Theater, so that's Saban in Beverly Hills, California. We have three services on Sundays. There's a by way of meditation at 7, and then there's a second service at 8:30, and then there's the third service at 11 a.m. And
Okay.
there's like 15 to 20-minute meditation before service, which is really awesome. And the music is fantastic. The music's
Yes.
fantastic. And all visitors that visit the church, or I don't call it church, it's a spiritual center. Every visitor
Yeah.
that comes in, like, they give you a first timer's badge, and then Reverend Beckwith kind of welcomes everybody. So they have you stand up, and then they affirm to you. And
Hmm.
it's the most like moving experience. I almost cry every time
Oh,
because when there's someone new and then we're
yes.
pointing hands and you see them receiving the love and
It's so much
receiving
energy
all
and
the,
love
oh
coming
my
to you.
God,
It's overwhelming,
it's
but it's
intense.
good.
Yeah, so I watch them and they're getting all teary and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm a
I
big
love
baby.
it. No, no, no. I love it, and I love that y'all do that, and it's like universal acceptance, because you don't find many places like that, around the
You
world,
really
that
don't.
where you go and you're fully accepted for who you are. It's like, the way that I see sometimes, and I'm probably going to get talked about by some people, or but like I said, I'm unfiltered. But, like, in the one thing that I didn't like about the community that I was in, which was like, the church community, was
Hmm.
that you had to pay tithes to the church. Like, it
Hmm.
became so about money and no longer about worshiping, and who gave
Right,
the most money on that Sunday, or who gave the most about offerings. And then
right,
the preacher was up there at the the podium, and he was talking about how, well, some of you out there know that you work a good job, or you got money, and
right.
y'all can't give to the time. And I feel like, that's when it kind of starts deviating away from God, because
Yeah,
God is not about that. God is love. It's about love
right,
and worship and unity as a whole. And I think people
right.
take that out of context in some churches.
They do, because tithing is such a touchy subject.
Yeah.
And tithing is, yes, unfortunately, some churches take advantage of that and they abuse it. But tithing goes in hand with the law of
Yes,
giving and receiving. And
absolutely.
so the principle of tithing isn't about giving expecting something in
Exactly.
return.
Amen.
It's giving with, like, being generous of your heart, and just having that spirit of giving
And
within
you know
you
what?
to
I would
give.
get side-eyed by people like that were in the church that were these deacons or that
Mm-hmm.
were these preachers, and they would side-eye people. Like they would look at the table what you
Mm-hmm.
put down
Mm-hmm.
on the bucket, or they would pass that basket around, and then they would ask, they would look at what you put in. I'm like, my God, the pressure. It was no longer about worship; it became about that. But
But
moving
right.
on, somebody
Sure.
else asked me about. They asked you and me about how do you know, because a lot of people that religion teaches, like once we die, that our
Mm-hmm.
soul is at peace and we're no longer able to communicate with the physical world. And a lot of people have asked me, like, how do you know what you're speaking to is not a demon or something negative? And I will tell them this: there's several things that I could go on in a tangent about.
Right.
Okay, if you're religious and you were taught this, you have to kind of understand the thing that our soul is energy and it never dies. Just
Right.
because we cannot see a spirit necessarily with your third eye or with your peripheral vision doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean it doesn't exist. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people that worship God cannot see God, but they know that he or she is spirit. The entity God is an
Is
entity.
present. Right.
It's spirit. And so, like, we put so much faith into somebody that we cannot see, but it's no different than a medium or a psychic putting their faith into spirit or seeing spirit. Just because you may not be able to see it doesn't mean that other people can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of a message that I kind of give. And a lot of people will say, well, how do you know it's not a demon? And I say, to me, demons are, because demons do exist,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they are lies. There are nothing truthful. Nothing can be validated. It's fear based. It's more
Mm-hmm.
negative vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit versus when spirit gives you a message, it can be validated. If not that same day, it may be validated years from later or weeks
Mm-hmm.
later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The messages can be received and they don't feel fear based.
Right.
And you just know, like I know, like what I if you protect yourself and you are channeling, if you say a prayer before and elevate and have that connection to source, you know that nothing negative is allowed in that space or going to
Right.
come in. Would you agree with that, Tertulien? Because
I agree. I agree. I agree 100%. It's like,
yeah,
before doing anything, like I was taught, before you do anything, you pray. And
yes,
you pray to call in the presence of God. You pray to usher in the angels and the Holy Spirit to protect you in what you're doing. I've seen it growing up in church, for example, like healing services, when you go visit someone and they're sick, and you don't just, like, start praying. Like, you
right,
call on the presence of God
yeah.
to before you start the
And you
prayer.
can't see God when you call him, but you know that presence is there. You feel it in
You
your
feel
soul.
it, right? You feel it because, like we were saying earlier, we come from source. We are a part of
Exactly.
source. So because we're a part of that connection, it's like they say, what God is a phone call away. you know and it's instant like that. But yes, I agree, in any type of spiritual work that you're doing,
Yeah.
to call on God, creator, source,
Hmm.
to invoke protection. Even those, like, I don't practice voodoo. I don't practice those types of spirit religions, but even in that, I understand that
Hmm.
some some of the priests and priestesses will recognize creator source and will call creator source God first
Yes.
before they summon any other entity. So there's something about that, you know?
Yeah, and like people also ask me, like, how do you know that there is an afterlife? How do you know? Okay, and I tell them, because I died. I had a near-death experience. This is not
Hmm.
something, like if I was the only person in the world that had a near-death experience and came back and said that I saw heaven, or what would be my perception of heaven and
Right.
God, and then I was the only one, then perhaps I was maybe making it up in my mind. You could say
Hmm.
that, but there's been so many cases documented by
Oh,
medical
yes.
science, by people who have had near-death experience and come back, and say that there is something after this physical world. Like I said, our soul is comprised of energy. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. And you know, it evolves. And I think that's the premise of understanding, you know, that there is more to this world. There are extraterrestrials. I know people start rolling their eyes when I say that. There are star beings. There are angels. There are darker entities in the world as well.
There are a lot of things that are out there that we don't know about.
Nope, we
and
don't.
That we may never know, or throughout time we eventually will find out. Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, I was seeing that there was another planet that they even found on NASA, or there was some kind of planet that is similar to Earth, but I don't know. The water is like in their cloud system, but it's a planet out there, and they just made that discovery that it does exist somewhere like trillions of miles out there, but it is another planet that it mimics Earth atmosphere. As far as the water, it is a planet comprised of water, so there is thoughts that there could possibly be life on there other than that, you know. So the possibilities that we're the only, you know, beings on in the galaxy is just ridiculous. There's more.
And especially, and there's not just one galaxy. We're a galaxy within galaxies of you know what I mean? It's just the human mind cannot comprehend the vastness and the expansiveness of this universe. It's just, I don't know, it's mind-boggling to me.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you, like, what do you do to find your balance when everything becomes so hectic? Like, I know that you're spiritual. Are you into meditation? What kind of meditation do you do? And what do you do to, like, de-stress when you are very stressed out?
I meditate. We do something called transcendental meditation, and that's what I do. I used to go to this place called Nam Yoga, which is like Shakti Nam Yoga. So it's like Kundalini and mantra chanting. So sometimes I do that, but I usually will meditate, or I'll like use some of my singing bowls. I have 2 singing bowls in my apartment, and whenever I'm like crazy, I just, you know, take one of them and sit. Yeah, singing bowls, they lift up vibrations quickly because you know, it's vibration. It's a frequency. What are they made out of?
Is it selenite or?
The 2 that I have are the Tibetan singing bowls. So whatever I get, copper or brass, whatever it's made out of. So I have one for the 2nd chakra. And then I have one for the crown chakra.
Amazing.
So I eventually will start to get more. But
do you work with crystals at all? Like, what crystals do you gravitate towards?
I do. I love crystals. As a singer, I sometimes wear a lapis lazuli. I'll wear that lapis here on the throat chakra. I wear citrine a lot.
One of my favorites.
I love citrine. I have these 2 bracelets here. I think the top one is, I think, cat eye and obsidian, and there's like jade in there.
Yes.
And then I have this really pretty sunstone that I got from.
That's gorgeous.
This ring is from Morocco.
Oh wow!
And the stone is called Luban. It's a sunstone, and it works against all dark magic and dark entities, and clears away negative energy.
I want to show you something. I'm going to step out of the camera, but I'll be right back. I have to show you something.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
Okay, so sunstone. I have this thing, but I hardly ever wear it. Bam.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God, that's huge.
It is huge. Wow. It's my baby, my treasure, and I'll never sell it. Like, this is the one thing that I wear and have, and my friend Callisto Jewelry made it, but it's a sunstone, and it is huge.
Gorgeous.
When I saw your ring, thank you. Your ring is gorgeous. When I saw
Thank you.
I was like, you know what? Oh my God, I have to show them, because this is the one thing that I wear, like whenever I get psychic attacks or people doing negativity, things like that. This is my go-to.
Oh,
And I keep it
yes.
because it falls, like it's a 30-inch chain, so it falls right in my heart space.
Oh, perfect. Yes, hits the heart chakra. Yeah, I love stones and crystals. It's funny, like a lot of religious people would like argue with me about stones and crystal, and I'm like, what about Joshua's breastplate in the Old
Hello.
Testament? Hello, like,
Hello.
just
And
come
I'm like,
on.
the crystals, like you are people obsess about diamonds and stuff, but all of the crystals, they come from Mother Earth. I mean, they
Right,
come from the ground. I mean, like that
right.
is a vibration in itself. So
Yeah,
you wearing anything that comes from Mother Earth, you know that she's special if she creates that kind of
yeah,
jewelry.
yeah, exactly,
So,
exactly. And same with plant medicine too,
so can you
you
sing us
know?
a little song before we wrap it up?
Yes, I can. I can. So this is a song called, it's an original song I wrote. It's called Angels.
Okay.
And it goes like this. Um, the day is done and the darkness falls on the wings of the night as a feather is wafted downward from an eagle in flight, who through long days of labor and night devoid of ease still heard in his soul the music of wonderful melodies. There will come soft rays when the angels call your name. There will come soft rains when the angels call your name. Oh,
That's so beautiful. So
aw,
beautiful. You
thank
have a
you.
beautiful voice. Guys, you
Thank
heard Tertulien here. I want to wrap it up by asking you, where
Yes.
can people download your music or find you if they're interested in collaborating with you, working with you, have
Yes.
questions directed to you? Go ahead and tell them.
Yeah, sure. You can find me on www.soundcloud.com. Blah, 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 blah. Starting over. www.soundcloud.com/Tertulien Music. And Tertulien is spelled Tertulien. And I'm clearly here at Instagram at Tuli Time. Sometimes I post singing videos of me on here. And then I'm on Facebook as Tertulien Thomas.
I'm going to
So
include all those links on my YouTube video on the description
yes.
box. So be sure to check it out there. And I'll also include it in the video when I upload it. I'm going to include your links on there. So
Okay,
I want to
perfect.
thank you so much, Sweet Angel, for being here. I really appreciate
Thank you for having me.
beyond words. Thank you all guys for tuning in. I love y'all so much. Love you, Tertulien, and keep
Love
being
you
the
too,
amazing
Ray.
person you are.
Thank you.
Have an amazing day.
You too. Big hugs.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.